In football now, Mamelodi Sundowns had a record-breaking DSTV Premiership season. There was a 16-point difference between them and Pirates and a record goal difference of 39 at the conclusion of the season. Dominance that some analysts said judged them not domestically but on the continent. To take a scientific and a closer look at the season, Lindelwe Moyo of Laduma Analytics joins me now. A very good evening and welcome to Newzroom Afrika. Good to be chatting to you once again. You've compiled a whole host of very intricate graphics for us. Let's start with the first one, Sundowns versus Pirates change in positions, because Sundowns really have been the picture of consistency, and this is the picture to show it.
Good evening, Valen. Good evening to the viewers as well. Yes, that first visual shows us the league positions, how they changed over time across the season. And we see Sundowns very early on, as early as October, getting to the top and maintaining their stranglehold on that. On the other hand, we see Orlando Pirates, who had an up and down start to the season, actually. But only in the second half of the season, that's when they started to become more consistent. And they peaked in the second half. And they ended up peeping SuperSport to second spot as well in the final quarter of the season. So that visual just shows you how Sundowns dominated the league from the get-go. Sundowns will have a lot of the ball, and we often see teams sitting back and denying Sundowns space. So they have to have these more smart passes in order to break these teams down. So next season we may see Orlando Pirates, because they've won 2 cups, they may now become a target in the league, and teams may start sitting back because they know that this team is dangerous and they'll need to have more smart passes in order to break down the opposition.
Yeah, and you see how well that's worked for Mamelodi Sundowns because they have been so dominant. They have been forced into that area where they have to be smart. They have to be really clever every single game. Let's speak about the 2 big award winners from the DSTV Premiership Awards, Teboho Mokoena, Footballer of the Season, and Players Player of the Season, Monapula Seleng. There's been a huge debate on social media about whether Seleng deserved the Players Player of the Season and not Teboho Mokoena. What do your stats say, and can you answer that question with the stats?
It's been a big debate the whole week, Valen. Unfortunately, we are not here to settle that debate. What we're here to say, however, is that what we just talked about, the team's style of play, that matters a lot when it comes to analyzing players' performances and appraising how their season went. We said earlier that Sundowns are a team that controls games a lot. They get to have average 65% possession of the ball, which is the highest, not just in South Africa, but it's recorded as the highest across the continent in terms of them having the ball. So a player like Teboho Mokoena, when you look at that visual, it shows us how, where, and in what direction does he make passes in that team. He is the player who has the most passes in the Sundowns team. He is the player that has the most passes in the whole league out of over 500 players that have set foot on a field this season. So everything that Sundowns does kind of rises and falls on what he does with the ball. What the visual shows us as well is that the red is where he passes the ball a lot, and the blue is where he passes the ball less. And so it's illustrative of that. In that middle of the park, he is the engine. He's the one that dictates how Sundowns play. The arrows as well also show that on average, his passes are going forward. So he's keeping that ball ticking, and he's the one responsible mainly for that good number in terms of smart passes that we saw earlier.
We're quickly running out of time, Lindelwe. Can you just tell us about the graphic that you guys put together for Monapula Seleng? And it looks very different to the one that you guys put together for Teboho Mokoena. And I suppose you mentioned it comes down to the fact that it's the style of the play of the actual team that the players are in.
Yes. The visual for Seleng shows, again, it's a radar that shows what he does with the ball as a wide player. We've chosen, again, 12 metrics that illustrate how a wide player does in terms of non-penalty goals, progressive runs, shots taken, and so forth. What we see with Seleng is that he's both an unlocker and an outlet for his side. He leads the league in terms of shots taken as if he's a striker, but he also leads the league for expected assists. We see there on the left side, on the right side of the visual, that he's a very creative player as well. So he's both a 2-in-1. He's both a midfielder and an attacker. Not only that, he's the best at those positions. So they're very different players who illustrate the 2 different styles of play for the teams, and that's what makes it very hard to compare them, although they both received awards at the end of the day, and congratulations to them.
Football analyst for Laduma Analytics, Lindelwe Moyo, thank you so much for chatting to us.